There is even more news for tomorrow's update that came out today, and so we're covering it so you know what exactly is coming out. It features brand new contracts to be able to get yourself some of the premium tanks within the game for free without having to spend any of your money, as well as a couple of sales. It should be a relatively quick video. I'll give you a rundown of the contract tanks that are coming out and of course which ones you might want to pick up. So straight out of the bat we have the Mantis and the Rhino vehicles. These are tier 8 premium vehicles and they're kind of premium mercenary vehicles that were released by Wargaming quite a while ago. We've done videos on them, so you may be able to find them if you search them up on YouTube if you want a more in-depth review, but I'll give you my overall opinion on them. First off, these come in on tomorrow's update, so 17th of December, you'll actually see these in the game. And that comes in at 11 UTC, and then they're available until the 25th of February, so they're in the game for quite a while, so you've got plenty of time to actually complete these operations, just over 2 months essentially to be able to do it, which is fantastic. And in terms of actually being able to do it, it is your typical contract stages, earning XP. So you can see here for the Mantis, you need 2,500 for the first one, you get rewards like medkits and stuff like that. And then the second one, 3,600 XP, placing top 5 XP earners on your team in a battle. And then you need to win a battle. So obviously they get extra kind of requirements for each stage that you complete. It gives you 1.25 times silver boosters as the reward. They do kind of get limited to various different tanks. So this one, you must play light tanks or mediums between tiers 5 and 10 and any era within Cold War. Available to multiplayer only, so you cannot actually do it on the co-op mode. The first one is just literally simply tiers 5 to tiers 10. And then as you go to stage 3, you've got destroy 2 or more vehicles while enemy is further than 250 meters in any number of battles. Destroy 5 or more vehicles and 7,200 XP. So total wise, you're looking at about 12,500 to get to stage 3 XP wise. That's light tanks and mediums between tiers 5 and 10. Rewards, you get some medkits, consumables, some XP boosters and some silver, which is really nice. Stage 4. This is where the XP starts to get exponential. So you got 15.6 thousand XP you need to get for this one. And destroy 4 or more tank destroyers or artillery in any number of battles. And deal 14,000 or more damage in any number of battles. Usually these kind of link up together, so you complete all of them near enough at the same sort of time. And most of the time it's the XP that is kind of the limiting factor for these. These are once again light tanks mediums between tiers 5 and 10. And the rewards are some medkits, silver boosters and some silver. Stage 5, you have to destroy 20 or more vehicles, 33.6 thousand XP you need for this one, so basically double the previous stage, and deal damage equivalent to 1.5 times your maximum health or more in 4 battles. This is going to be super easy in a light tank, so if you're struggling with this, just jump in a light tank, because they get less health in the first place, and if you can deal a decent amount of damage, you're probably going to be able to do it. 3 days of premium account, which is nice, as well as some silver boosters and premium like kind of consumables as well, and a tiny bit of silver, 6.8k silver. It's kind of weird that they'd give you that. This one is available to light tanks mediums, but you have to play between tier 6 and 10 this time for stage 5. Stage 6, land 200 penetrating hits in any number of battles. Now, for example, if you got the T249, I'm not entirely sure if it counts if you basically land all of the shots that you've got with that. You might be able to do this in one game. So, yeah, potentially an option. And, of course, Cold War, I'm sure there's lots of autocannons that you can use as well that are going to basically get that done very, very quickly. And earn 69.6 thousand or more XP, some premium consumables, and 714,000 silver for Stage 6. Stage 7, you've got destroy 100 or more vehicles. This one is typically a slightly more harder one to do for a lot of players. And is kind of dependent on how close you are. So if you're playing tank destroyers and light tanks, it's slightly more difficult. Mediums should be fine though. Deal 132,500 or more damage, which should be in the region of when you get your XP done, which is 148.8 thousand XP, and you get 1.65 million silver for that one. And then stage 8, you earn 316,800 XP, which actually gives you the tank, the medium vehicle. Now, in terms of this vehicle, you do have to play tiers 8 to 10 between stages 7 and 8. So you need a tier 8 light tank or medium, or play Cold War. So that's essentially what you got to do. And if you've got all of that already, then that's perfect. But most of the time, by the time you got up to this, you'll probably have unlocked a tier 8 if you were playing a medium or a light tank anyway. So it's a nice way to grind both a tech tree vehicle as well as actually get yourself a premium vehicle at the same time. So that's what I usually do with these sorts of contracts, if I do have tech tree vehicles to actually grind, although we're running out now. Yes, so moving on, in terms of what the Mantis is actually like in the game, it's essentially this weird hybrid between what I would say as like a light medium vehicle. It's a really weird one. It gets a 4-shot autoloader that has 240 damage, so you can deal 960 damage total, if my maths is correct. And yeah, you got 210 pen, 280 with premium. So in terms of like performance wise, it's not too bad in terms of the damage output that you can deal in one clip. But you do got, well, you have got quite a long reload time, which kind of knackers this tank a little bit. You got to wait 26.5 seconds to deal all of those kind of rounds out. And you can see the DPM 1771. So it's definitely on the lower side. But you do get the power to weight ratio of basically a light tank at 33.33 and a top forward speed of 63. So it's definitely a fast vehicle. We'll do a video on this vehicle coming soon. So I will do a full rundown of the tank again so you guys understand what it's all about. 400 meters view range is okay, and kind of in the, you know, bog standard range for a medium tank at tier 8. So yeah, pretty decent in that regard. But of course, 1200 hit points is on the low side, even for a medium. But at the same time, you know, it is what it is. It's kind of a light medium hybrid vehicle. It's a fun one to play. Is it going to be the one that you want to get out of the two tanks available, which is the Rhino and the Mantis? Well, we'll cover that in a second once we've gone over the Rhino contract. But before we do that, I want to cover how much XP you'll actually need. So between all of that, it is about 450,000. You're sat at about 520,000, 550, 565. Yeah, like 575,000 XP total to be able to unlock this tier 8 premium from scratch. I believe XP boosters do actually count towards this operation, so if you've got times 5 XP boosters, you should be able to do this much quicker. But remember, you still have to complete all of the secondary like things, which obviously don't get boosted by any XP boosters. So it's really only imperative to use those on the later stages where you don't really have those secondary requirements, because you'll get through the XP super quick. But then at the end of the day, you're going to be then stuck on the damage, which you probably would have got the XP anyway. So that's something to note. And of course, yes, this tank, it's a fun one, which I think is something that can't be said for a lot of vehicles in the game. They're either very strong to the point where they're a little bit overpowered or something, or they're kind of just very boring to play. And even those overpowered vehicles can be boring to play. But this one is a decent, fun vehicle. I don't think it's that competitive though. So yeah, either way, it's a nice one to get for free, and it's not that commonly on sale, at least from what I've seen since it was released. Then we've got the Rhino. So this is like a Carnarvon-based vehicle that has some pretty interesting stats. We'll actually dive into the stats right now so you guys get an idea of what it's all about when it does actually load. So this one has 440 alpha, which is kind of, if you've ever played the Defender or some of the Soviet heavy vehicles, that is what it has. It has that same sort of kind of armament on the vehicle. It has pretty lackluster DPM once again, but slightly better than the Mantis at 1835. But of course it's less effective because it is a single shot. You can't output all of that damage in the clip like you can with a Mantis in one go. But it's got 225 pen with 265 premium. You're kind of got not the greatest of accuracy because you are a heavy vehicle with a big old chunky gun. But at the same time, yeah, you've kind of got the a decent vehicle, but you have to play it quite close to make it work 100% of the time. But with all of the accuracy and bonuses that you can apply from your equipment and your crew skills on the game, it really isn't too bad. And you can get the DPM up to probably like somewhere in the region of about 2,300 DPM when you're fully kitting this tank out to maximize DPM, which I'd recommend, especially on a more brawling heavy. This one has a power to weight ratio of 11.75, so it is very sluggish, and the top forward speed of 38 is not bad. But once again, you're very sluggish to actually get up to that top speed. So yeah, I think in terms of how it plays, it isn't the greatest. It has terrible kind of camo. It has pretty okay view range. I mean, at this point, everything has max view range when you put on coated optics, or advanced optics as it's now called. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think you'll spot most things if they fire at you within your view range. But at the same time, you want to be careful of those bush campers that are going to be lying back with their TDs, because they will pen you quite easily. It gets 8 degrees of gun depression, which is great for a heavy vehicle like this with that alpha damage, so that's nice. But essentially, you got that Carnarvon turret, which is actually quite strong. I believe it's actually the Carnarvon Action X, which is another premium vehicle. It's got a Maybach engine with the Tiger 2 kind of hole, I guess, of the tank, which isn't the greatest. I mean, everyone knows about the Tiger lower plate. It's just god-awful, so not great. But it does get some spaced armor on the sides, making it easier to side scrape with the tank, but it isn't still going to be that good. So yeah, that is kind of where this tank kind of lies. It's still a very fun vehicle once again, and I actually think it's relatively decent. You can have good games in this thing, and we'll do a video kind of going through all of the gameplay and stuff like that and the full setup for the tank, but primarily going to be wanting to have rammer, advanced optics, and probably some form of engine booster, just so that it doesn't feel as slow, is probably what I would go with anyway. And then in terms of how much XP, it's literally the same sort of story. This one, you're going to have to play heavy tanks or tank destroyers to unlock, rather than the mediums and light tanks with the Mantis. But yeah, it's the same sort of story. You get the same sort of rewards from each of the stages. I'm not going to go through every single one of them again, but they're heavy orientated or tank destroyer orientated tasks like blocking damage, but the XP requirements are basically the same. So it should take you about the same amount of time. So, you know, sitting around 575k XP, it's going to take you about 575 battles for an average player if they've got premium account, and slightly less, you know, if you haven't got premium account. So you're going to spend a lot more time if you haven't got premium. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. And of course, it depends on your own skill level. If you're able to get 2000 XP per game every single time and you've got premium, then fantastic. You're going to complete it way faster. But at the same time, the majority of players are probably not in that sort of range. So 1000 XP per game with premium account, you know, you're going to complete it relatively somewhat quickly. And you've got 2.5 months to actually complete it, or 7 weeks or something like that. So yeah, 9 weeks even. Oh god, my maths is being terrible. It's been a long day at work. But at the same time, yeah, it's looking pretty decent to have both of these. In terms of the one that I would focus on getting, I'm probably biased towards the medium light tank route in the Mantis, but I think it's actually a bit of a toss-up, to be honest. Do you prefer heavy tanks? If so, the Rhino is fantastic. If you prefer medium light tanks, especially light tank kind of builds, then the Mantis is probably for you. So that is really it. I don't think that there is a wrong choice with this one. One is not significantly worse than the other, but the Mantis isn't the greatest. It's more of a fun vehicle, whereas the Rhino can actually be quite competitive in the right sort of situations if you're playing it in the right locations on the map. But yeah, anyway, moving on. That isn't the only contract for this week. We've got the Caboose and Thunderbucket. These are the tier 3 and tier 4 mercenary vehicles that always come out with the contracts. Nothing really special here. They just require a hell of a lot less XP than, as you can imagine, with those tier 8 premiums. And you get similar sort of results and rewards and stuff like that. And the XP is significantly lower, probably about 100,000 XP as opposed to 575,000 XP in total between all of the stages. But you still get those premium time, and most of the time I would recommend, if you've already got the 2 premiums that are the Mantis and the Rhino, just to complete these extra stages, so you get the premium rewards, and then you can always cancel the contract and redo those stages if you're wanting to just farm up premium days and stuff like that. It is possible to do that if you wanted to. These ones are only available until the 31st of December, so you've only got 14 days to actually do it, so 2 weeks from tomorrow. But, you know, they're much quicker stages. Thunder Bucket is like this light tank. Yeah, I mean, they're low tier premiums. They're not particularly that interesting for me anyway. But yeah, similar sort of story with the Thunder Bucket in terms of XP required. Maybe slightly more than the tier 3 there, but either way, not bad. And then we've got some holiday sales which have been announced as well, which is fantastic if you're after camouflage and cosmetics, including tank and commander skins as well. So you'll be able to pick up some of those skins that you've been waiting for half the price, 50% off, which is amazing. Always like the skins. These are also available from tomorrow at 11 o'clock UTC. You get 50% off 360 days of premium as well. So if you wanted to pick up premium account for the year and you missed it on Black Friday, if you do want to spend money on the game, it's probably the second thing that I'd recommend for people who actually want to play the game for a long period of time, but don't feel pressured or get FOMO to buy premium time if you think you're only going to be playing the game for a month or two in the year. It's just not worth it. But at the same time, you know, if you play this game religiously, it's a great time to pick up premium time. Me, I think I've got like 2 years worth of premium time or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway, 25% off commanders in the recruitment reel as well. So if you want to buy commanders, they're 25% off silver. Vehicle XP to free XP is also 1 gold to 37, so an additional 50%, I believe. So that's a decent time to convert if you actually are going to spend money on getting free XP. Once again, I wouldn't recommend it. It's very expensive, but, you know, a lot of people do, so I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. But once again, remember, if you're enjoying the game or whatever and you want to spend money, it's up to you, but don't feel pressured into doing it with, you know, sales and that sort of stuff. Silver conversion bonus, 1 gold to 600 silver. I would never ever recommend converting gold into silver. It is just ludicrously expensive, and you can just play some Cold War vehicles that you've probably got from season passes and earn a ton of silver per game, and it will save you a ton of gold in the meantime. So play like 100 games on Cold War in a premium Cold War vehicle, and you probably earn like, I don't even know, probably like 10 million or something like that if, you know, you're doing okay. And of course, if you're doing even better than that, then you're going to be able to earn like 16 million, maybe even upwards of 20 million from 100 games on Cold War with a premium vehicle with a decent silver bonus. So, you know, it's going to save you a lot of gold is what I'm trying to say. So please think about where you're spending your money on the game if you want to make the most out of your money when you do spend it. But that is literally it for today. It was just a quick update for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it. And of course, subscribe down below if you aren't already. And I hope you have a great week on whatever you're doing, whether you're playing World of Tanks or not. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.